Have you ever wanted Finding some Freddy's in VR? Do you also want to mash up a FNAF games with also original levels? Have you also wanted a FNAF game to be made by a company instead of only just Scott? Well, we have FNAF VR Help Wanted. Hey there guys, this is Tyler and welcome back to another video. We're back into another review video, but this time, we aren't reviewing a FNAF fan game. This time, we're reviewing an actual FNAF game in the series. That today, folks, is FNAF VR Help Wanted. To make this simple, we will go in the good old-fashioned of FNAF fan game review videos and have three categories. Those three being graphics, gameplay, and story. Each will be given a rating out of 10, which at the end will be added up to a final rating out of 30. Then there's an extra category added to the conclusion, which is the other segment, which is where I can say extra thoughts that could boost up or down the current final rating. Also, I know I put up a warning at the very beginning about spoilers, but I will say this again. This game is a new game, and as I'm writing the script for this, the game's public release is not even a week old yet, so yeah. There will be spoilers in this. Go see other videos or play the game yourself first if you do not want to be spoiled here if you wish. To those who want to continue on with the video, let's just get in the review.
Hello everybody, you ready to have a good time? I know I am, cause it's Freddy Fazbear.
Finding some Freddy's VR Help Wanted is a VR version of the FNAF series by Scott Cawthon. This was made by a VR company called Steelwool, which Scott also contributed in, and PlayStation VR was the main place for to play the game. The game was also made in Unreal 4 Engine 2, and is the first AAA game if you think about it. This takes most of the previous games in the series, like FNAF 1, 2, and 3 for example, and make recreated VR levels out of the knights in those games, which also contains original levels mixed in there as well. There's also many options on what to do and secrets as well and lore behind it. I don't have anything else to say, so let's just get into the graphics. The graphics. Now, I'm gonna say this. Just like the Joy Creation story mode, there was a weakest factor of the game, which was the gameplay. This will be the case here, except the weakest factor in the game is the graphics. Yeah, there are issues there and there of the graphics. I'm sorry, but there is. The first issue is with some of the models. Springtraps, for example, was the worst model in the game, in my opinion. Just freaking look at this image of him here. I'm gonna be honest. He looks like a damn adventure animatronic with his big eyes. Even my friend Mutant Eagle, aka Clash of Toast, said that Springtrap and Help Wanted looked like something from Source Filmmaker, aka SFM. The reason why Springtrap's model in FNAF 3 was good was because it actually looked creepy and disturbing. But here, I could literally just have Fiverr hug this guy. Also, I heard that this was an old version of him and he got redesigned in the final release, but no, it's still the same model. I'm gonna say this. Help Wanted is the scariest game in the FNAF series in my opinion, but this, for example, is not what you would use to back up that opinion I have. Another problem is Mangle's model. It just looks so bland and the textures feel like they're out of place, and more could have been done with the model. It doesn't really impress me either. Plus the vent area Mangle is associated with in the game. Mangle doesn't look very good with the dark brighting in the vent. It did try though to at least be so it could at least be mediocre or decent. So that's an alright thing. How come it's always the models I have called good in the past that end up getting bad remakes later on? Those models are not the only ones that are not good either. For example, Plushtrap and Spring Bonnie's model. Yes guys, Spring Bonnie's real self is now an official FNAF game. Could have been better if more textures and adjustments were done, and could have improved a bit more. Plushtrap and Spring Bonnie's models are not bad, they're only mediocre. Speaking of the Spring Bonnie model, I'll be honest, it does look a little off and weird. I mean, it sort of disturbs me, so that's good at least. Also, I just wish the FNAF 3 locations looked more appealing too, and had more to it, and maybe better brighting. Now, before you ask,
Tyler, why do you keep bashing the graphics for this game? Isn't there stuff you like about it too?
Yes, actually. There are actually a lot of things I do like about the graphics for this game, and they do outweigh the bad. The 4 main animatronics, for example, look so good and just have interesting textures, and are appealing to look at. The fact I could say this for the main characters of the entire franchise is a very good thing. Another positive thing I could say about the graphics for this game is a lot of the locations are appealing and are very interesting to look at. It's like a work of art almost, especially the brighting with these two. The darkness really does help in this, and the shading and that stuff. Also, I just like the effects and lighting that's used in the nightmare modes. It looks very great and funky, but in a good way though, of course. Also, I love how the FNAF 1 office in VR is more disturbing than the original and actually looks intense. It sort of creeps you out when you get into it. Plus, I have to mention how great Nightmare Fredbear actually looks too. I'll be honest, his model in VR actually is better than his model in the original FNAF 4. At least in my opinion. That's a big plus in the graphics, and it's something that is not usually achieved that well in model redesigns. Looking at you, Springtrap and Scraptrap. Final positive point to this, there's just other models in the game that do look very good too, like Enter, no biased by the way, Nightmare, Nightmare BB, Toy Bonnie, and much more. Hell, I even love the Helpy drawings on the level monitor, and even the Easter egg model itself. I have no other rating to give it, but it's 7.5 out of 10. It's close to an 8 out of 10, I might add, but this is still a very good rating nonetheless. Time for the gameplay portion. The gameplay is the most important part of the game, as you know. It's even in the name of the term gaming. Instead of starting with the cons, let's begin with the pros. The first pro I have is that a lot of the levels in the game, like the parts and service levels, can get creepy and intense at moments. It really does give you that feeling, and that was a nice one from Steelwool and Scott. Secondly, most of the new and original levels in the game can get very creative, especially the vent segments. Those are very great despite Help 1 and Mangle being in one of them. Another thing I adore is the addition of the prize corner section. It was a nice touch and mostly different for a change. This sort of existed as a mechanic in Ultimate Custom Night and had a normal location appearance in FNAF 2, but I prefer the prize corner's role in Help Wanted. Plus the grabber claw is just a great touch too. I just like its way of operating and its movements. As well, the levels based on the original FNAF games are taken to the next level and are very interesting to play despite the hardness later on in FNAF 1 mode. I also like the replay value that is included in this game, like the disappointment chips and the tapes and etc. They were interesting touches, and the tapes were good for the lore too, which we'll get to later. Ultimate Custom Night still has the most replay value in the series, hence one of the reasons why Ultimate Custom Night is a very good game in my opinion, but Help Wanted's replay value was more creative and more intriguing. Also, for a side pro, I just like Funtime Freddy's level. It's so cool and it's nice to play. Now, despite all those positives I had for the gameplay, there are a few negatives for the gameplay I would like to add. One of those is that the FNAF 3 section could be too complex to people when they're trying to navigate for the office and they press buttons and that. Maybe if it were a tiny bit more simple to navigate, it wouldn't be that complex. But don't make it too simple, or else we'll run into the same reason why the original FNAF 3 sucked, the simplicity. Also, a few of the levels could be more creative. A lot of the new levels are creative, but some of them could have room of creative improvement, so they are more applauding. Also, the only other con I have is that the baby plush level could get repetitive at times. Otherwise, that's all I have to say for the gameplay and Help Wanted. I found the gameplay to be very good in my opinion, and has some great ideas going into a lot of the new levels as well. Just for all that, I give it an 8.7 out of 10. Very nice, Steelwool and Scott. Now, the game has got a story to tell us, which means it's time to talk about it. Now, the story in Help Wanted is a bit different than your usual FNAF game. You're basically playing a VR game designed by Fazbear Entertainment, the pizzeria sister company, where it takes a lot of the rumors and ghost stories like the FNAF games themselves and puts them all into the VR game. But it contains a bunch of secrets for the beta tester of the game, who is the player/main protagonist. I just love the concept of this. It's different for a change as well in the FNAF lore, and it is worth investing to a lot. Telling a different type of the story in a certain game of a game series makes the game itself more interesting in a way than the others in the series. Despite that, it can get confusing with lore details and such that can really throw you off. If some of those details were a bit more clear to understand what it means, it would help more in piecing the game's lore. I also gotta say with this though, I do love how they introduced Spring Bonnie in the game. Yes, Spring Bonnie himself appears in an actual FNAF game in an actual model of his real self. That was a great surprise in the game, and it was something that got me interested in this game and its lore when I found out. I did find it out through spoiler titles, which may be triggered in a way, but it was still a great surprise though. I also do like how some of the lore is presented despite some of the detail confusion I already mentioned. I'm referring to how they introduced the company game and the little Freddy ride. I like it, and it's a breath of fresh air on how a FNAF game's lore gets introduced to us. More on the lore presentation, I like how they hid Spring Bonnie for a green Shadow Bonnie figure and it built up into revealing that it was Spring Bonnie. That was very cool. With those, that's all I have to say about the game story. It's getting a 9 out of 10 for me. Very nice. Very nice. Welcome to the other/conclusion segment of the review. This is where I talk about extra things in the game that could bump up or down the current final rating. Now, another thing I do like about the game is that the ambience is actually disturbing and ominous. Both of those terms in a good way, don't worry. Where they are placed into actually fits well and is neat to hear in the background. While playing one of the levels, I also love the new walk cycles too. It is actually the first ever official FNAF game that contains them. See how I said official, because this has been seen in Nixon's games, for example. But I love the fact that it's in an official FNAF game. It brings life in the animatronics in a way that is amazing and just makes them more menacing too somehow. Also, I just freaking love Balloon Boy's running animation out of the office. Another thing too is that most of the jump scares animations are great and look alright. They're not bad at all. They tried, and it seems like their final try had an interesting result. Some of the jump scares have made me and a few other YouTubers that I've seen jump, so that is neat. I also like Foxy's movements in the parts and service level for him. They're intense in a way, they're very crazy, and once again just brings life to Foxy. It's just once again refreshing to see in an official FNAF game. I also do like the little touches that are added in, like the manifestation/insects crawling around Chica. It actually gives a creepy feel to it and can give the players the shock. Those are the extra pros I have. There is one extra negative, and that is the fact that the game over screen tips and text could have been a bit more helpful and give actual tips, but the ones that aren't really tips can give a creative old vintage feel, so that's sort of okay. Now that is the other stuff out of the way. 4.5 points have been added, but there is a 1 point decrease to it. It's only 1 point though, so not that much is decreased, so that's a good sign. Now, the final rating for FNAF VR Help Wanted is a 28.7 out of 30, which is an A grade rating. Oh man, that is very, very great, at least according to my new rating/grading system. Yeah, I sort of changed it from the Joy Creation Story Mode review, and I'll continue to use this for games and fan games from now on when rating/grading them. But alright guys, you probably already knew this if you're familiar with my channel back in January 2019. I did a FNAF Games Worst to Best video that only contained the games of FNAF 1 to Ultimate Custom Night, and I labeled Ultimate Custom Night to be the best game in the series. Well guys, I'm gonna have to say, this has now changed. I now believe FNAF VR Help Wanted is the best game in the FNAF series now, and is my new favorite. Yes, now ahead of Ultimate Custom Night. Back in the Worst to Best video, I didn't really give the games a rating and a grade. I just told you if I thought it was bad, good, mediocre, or etc. And I went into a bit why I thought that way while making the worst to best list out of that. Despite that, I do keep a rating list of the games, but they're only out of 10 instead of 30. Also, by the way, guys, a side note, I'll no longer count the FnaF 4 Halloween update into this or ranking systems anymore since it's nothing but an update, and I will start including FNAF World into these. Now, back on topic, here are my final ratings for the FNAF games. I gave it Ultimate Custom Night, they are a 9 out of 10, but in out of 30, it translates to a 28.3 out of 30, which you already know the rating for Help Wanted. So yeah, new favorite in the series. And also, here's the current worst to best list, including Help Wanted, but online. It's closest at the best mark because you know why. Anyway, that is all I have to say. Thanks to Scott and Steelwolf for making such an amazing game, and it's a very great one as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. In the description below will be the download link to FNAF VR Help Wanted, any music credits, my Discord server, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Tiller's channel, and my Minecraft Roblox channel. Be sure to leave your opinions and ratings or whatever in the comments too. I would love to read them and see what you guys think. As you know, I'm always interested in what you guys think about these things. And yeah, see you guys later. Bye.